Tune into Nice Radio every Saturday at 7:30 a.m. for A View from the Outside, hosted by Brereton Horne. A View from the Outside takes a look at key issues affecting St. Vincent and the Grenadines and gives a global perspective on how these issues are viewed. Host Brereton Horne will examine a variety of topics to enlighten, stimulate debate, and explore solutions. Hear the facts, hear the real-life stories, hear A View from the Outside. Join Brereton Horne at 7:30 a.m. every Saturday on Nice Radio for A View from the Outside.
This society needs a spectacle. It might help us to see some people.
On A View from the Outside this week being the 10th of October 2020, we look at priority, 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 with the view being that on election day, the 5th of November 2020, each and every Vincentian voter has to seize the opportunity to go out and vote for a government which will have the needs of the people and the development of the country, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as its priority. The Macmillan Dictionary defines priority as something important that must be done first or needs more attention than anything else. And the Collins Dictionary states that if something is a priority, it is the most important thing you have to do or deal with or must be done or dealt with before everything else you have to do. Those definitions clearly tell us that something which is a priority is important and must not be ignored or neglected. With that consideration in mind, it stands to reason that the needs of all of the people, your needs, and the development of the entire country, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, must become a priority and must not be neglected or ignored by the government of the country. And because of that, we here on A View from the Outside strongly encourage each and every Vincentian voter to seize the opportunity to go out and vote for a government which will have the needs of the people and the development of the country, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as its priority. On the night of Thursday, the 8th of October 2020, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines announced that general elections will be held in St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Thursday, the 5th of November 2020. In the months leading up to that announcement, the ruling Unity Labour Party, ULP, shifted into overdrive with their distribution of lumber, cement, and galvanized, and their crassly named Love Box. Many have said that they believe that such operation by the ULP is nothing more than them resorting to their usual playbook with the sole aim of bribing the electorate in an attempt to win votes to try to win the elections. During that announcement, the Prime Minister, who is now 74 years old, begged his listeners to give him and his party another term, another 5 years to rule St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which, if successful, will in effect mean that he and his party will rule the country for 25 consecutive years. The general feeling is that the people and their needs have been disregarded completely by the regime. The people have simply not been given priority. For too long now, the cries of the people have been ringing out near and far of the dilapidation and neglect which have enveloped St. Vincent and the Grenadines. For too long now, the evidence shows that only one family and a selected few are the ones who enjoy the benefits and the best of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, while the majority of the people in the country have become zombified by the suffering that you, the people, have been made to endure. For too long now, the people, you have been insulted and shamed in the vilest and most public way. For too long now, you, the people, have been denigrated and disparaged. For too long now, you, the people, have been victimized. For too long now, you, the people, have been made to live in fear. Fear that your sons and daughters are made to perform all sorts of indignities for the promise of a job or a scholarship. Fear that your health is neglected and that people, including children, are dying because of such neglect. The time has come for you, the people, to make the decision to get a government which will make you the priority. A government which will give your health and well-being and the health of the country priority over their leadership. Not a government which will vaingloriously tell you that you care about their leadership rather than your own health. Get a government which will give priority to ensuring that the hospitals and clinics are stocked with basic medication and supplies so that you, the people, will not be burdened with the exorbitant price of medication. Get a government which will give priority to ensuring that the hospitals, especially the main hospital, are efficiently and properly run so that they, the members of the government themselves, will have confidence in using the services offered there, and that they, the members of government, don't have to fly out to the best surgeons in the world and leave you, the people, with no choice but to use the substandard service. Get a government which will give priority to the upkeep and repair of the hospitals and clinics up and down the country. Not a government which will wait until it is shamed into power-washing, mold-infested clinics and buildings around the country. Get a government which will embrace medical professionals rather than shaming them, which will embrace them and value their advice and constructive criticism. Not a government which will use its agents and enablers to disparage and denigrate such professionals, to try to scare and beat them into submission. Get a government which will not ignore warnings from reputable Caribbean regional organizations to ensure that the necessary precautions are put in place to prevent your children from dying of diseases, including dengue fever. Vote for a government which is committed and will give priority to creating and providing meaningful jobs to reduce the high unemployment rate in the country. The unemployment rate, which according to the unreleased and buried poverty assessment report, stands at an average of 26%. Unemployment, which is nearly 50% among the youths. Vote for a government which has every respect for the law of the land, not one which constantly undermines and erodes the rule of law in the country. Vote for a government which will give priority to upholding the Constitution, the highest law of the land, and provide accountability to you, the people, as prescribed by the said Constitution. Not a government which uses the Constitution to try to browbeat citizens into submission, a practice which the Eastern Caribbean Court of Appeal found to be remarkable. Not a government which spitefully and maliciously uses the law to take away the lands of its citizens. Not a government which constantly ignores the rulings and judgments of the court and refuses to compensate citizens in accordance with those rulings and judgments. Vote for a government which respects the separation of powers, a government which will not stifle civil servants and interfere with the performance of their duties, thus preventing them from doing their jobs effectively and with utmost efficiency. Vote for a government which will respect the rights of teachers and ensure that teachers have a proper working collective agreement, not an aspirational one. Vote for a government which will not renege on a clause or clauses in the collective agreement, all in a bid to spitefully and wickedly punish teachers who stand up against them. Vote for a government that will not wickedly withhold the pensions of teachers, even when the court ruled that such pensions are not to be interfered with. Vote for a government which will give priority to reducing and eradicating the heightened fear which you, the people, experience on a daily basis. Vote for a government which will give priority to restoring decency and morality in the country. A government which, by its example, will place emphasis on honesty. One which will be honest with you, the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Vote for a government which will bring an end to the burgeoning dynasty in the country. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is not a family business. It belongs to all of the citizens of the country. Vote for a government which will put an end to nepotism and give priority to awarding jobs and other services based on merit rather than friendship and relationship. Vote for a government which will give priority to the safety and security of its people, not a government which is primarily concerned about creating a facade for international acceptance at the UN Security Council, while its people at home feel less safe because of escalating crime rate in the country. Not a government which commits and encourages human rights and property rights abuses against its own citizens at home, or a government which only pretends to care about poverty and about the poor. Those abuses, human rights, property rights abuses, are the very abuses which the United Nations, the UN, stands up against and vehemently condemns. Not a government which does not appear to do enough against the commission of rape, sexual assault, and domestic violence against women and girls in the country. Vote for a government which will give priority to policies and projects which benefits all Vincentians. Not a government with a catalogue of many failed projects, the latest one being the geothermal project, which has failed miserably. A project on which boasts were made that upon completion it will supply electricity to Barbados. Another failed project being the cross-country road, which famously or infamously has a beginning and an end, but not a middle. Vote for a government which will give priority to ensuring that its citizens who are in various parts of the Vincentian diaspora feel comfortable and look forward to returning home for a visit, to do business, or to resettle. Not a government which wants to stifle free speech, even for those in the Vincentian diaspora. Not a government that disparages and denigrates those in the diaspora who are critical of their ineptitude. Not a government which arrests and charges its critics seemingly just to inconvenience them and to spitefully disrupt their lives. Vincentians, you know what your needs are. You know what your priorities are. You know the needs of the country which the government, your government, needs to give priority to. So, with that in mind, we leave you to identify those needs and identify those priorities. We leave you to continue the conversation. Discuss those needs and priorities with your family members, your neighbors, and your friends. Put yourself in the best position to make the right choice on election day. It is imperative that you remember that you have a responsibility to make yourself the priority. Make it your priority to ensure that you register to vote and ensure that you go out and vote. Vote for a government which makes you the priority and gives utmost consideration and attention to the developmental needs of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Vincentians, election day is only 26 days away. Stay focused as you prepare to go out and vote. Do not succumb or fall prey to bribes. Make yourself the priority and vote for a government which will ensure a brighter and better future for you, your children, and the entire St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Randy, until next week, this is Brereton Horne with a view from the outside, with a reminder to send your feedback as usual to aviewfromtheoutside@hotmail.com. We invite you to visit and like our Facebook page at A View from the Outside. And also visit and subscribe to our YouTube channel at JMB Horne. Have a pleasant day, Randy, you and all the listeners. Have a pleasant Saturday, have a wonderful Sunday, and a productive week ahead, with everyone ensuring that you vote a government which makes you the